No one sees her. The city was loud and full of strange lights. Flying cars passed overhead while tall buildings touched the dark sky. Neon signs blinked in many alien languages. The streets were busy with aliens of all shapes and colors. Some walked with metal legs, some had glowing eyes, others floated in the air like soft clouds, but no one looked down. No one looked at her. She was small. Her skin was pale green, her eyes too big for her thin face. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her hands shook as she reached out toward a food stall. The smell of roasted meat filled the air. Her stomach growled, but her hand only found empty space. The alien behind the stall slapped her hand away with a growl and shouted in a strange voice. She fell back. Her knees scraped on the hard ground. She looked around, but no one helped. They only stared. Some laughed. One kicked dust in her direction. She tried to speak, but her voice was too weak. She had not eaten for 2 days. She wanted just one crumb, just something small, anything. She crawled to a corner and sat with her back to a wall, her arms wrapped around her legs. Her eyes looked at the stars above, blinking between buildings. She wondered if her parents were looking at the same stars, but she knew they were gone, taken long ago by the rulers of this world, tall dark creatures with silver armor and no hearts. She was left behind alone. She heard footsteps slow and steady. She lowered her head, waiting for another kick, maybe another insult. But the footsteps stopped in front of her. A voice spoke, soft and strange, not like the others. It was calm. It was human. "Are you okay?" the voice asked. She looked up surprised. She saw boots, not alien feet, then pants, then a jacket, dark and worn, and then a face. The man had kind eyes, brown and tired. He knelt down and looked at her face closely, not with fear, not with hate, but with something else, something warm. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came, only a dry cough. He reached into his coat and took out a small bar of food wrapped in plastic. He unwrapped it and handed it to her slowly, gently. "Here, take this," he said. "You need it more than I do." She stared at the food, unsure. Maybe it was a trick. Maybe it was a trick. Maybe he would take it back at the last second, but he didn't. His hand stayed open, still holding the bar, waiting for her to take it. She reached out slowly. Her fingers touched his. Her hand shook. He didn't pull away. She grabbed the bar and brought it close to her face. She sniffed it, then bit into it, soft, sweet. Her eyes filled with tears. She had never tasted something so good. It felt like magic. He sat beside her, not saying anything for a moment. They just sat there in silence. The noise of the city kept going, but around them it felt quiet, like they were in a bubble away from the world. "My name is Joran," the man said. "I'm just passing through." She looked at him, unsure if she should speak, but she wanted to thank him. She forced her voice to work, her throat dry and painful. She said, "My name is Ara." He smiled. "That's a nice name," he said. "Where are your parents?" She looked down. Her hands clutched the rest of the food. "They're gone," she whispered. He nodded slowly. "I'm sorry," he said. "This place is not kind to people like who?" She asked. "Yeah," he said. "People who don't belong, people who are forgotten or thrown away." She looked at him closely. His jacket had patches. His face had small scars. He looked tired, like someone who had seen too much, but he still smiled like someone who had not given up. "Why did you help me?" she asked. "No one else ever does." "Because someone helped me once," he said, "and I never forgot." I stood up and looked around, then offered his hand. "Come with me," he said. "I have a safe place not far from here, just for the night. You'll be safe there." She looked at his hand, then at the street behind her, full of faces that never saw her, that only pushed her away. Her heart beat fast. She didn't know this man, but something inside told her to trust him. She took his hand. It was warm. He pulled her up gently, and they walked together into the shadows of the city, away from the lights, away from the pain. She didn't know where they were going, but for the first time she felt like someone saw her, like she mattered, like maybe her story was not over yet. The night was cold, and the stars were hidden behind clouds of smoke. The city lights flickered as Ara followed Joran through narrow streets, past broken walls and dark alleys. Each step echoed softly as they moved like shadows. No one noticed them. No one cared. They reached a small gate hidden behind an old building. The metal door was rusty and had strange marks on it. Joran pressed his hand to a panel and waited. A soft hum came, and the door slid open with a low sound inside. It was dark for a moment, then small lights turned on, glowing blue along the floor. Ara looked around with wide eyes. She had never seen a place like this. The walls were metal but warm, not like the cold city. Outside her, Joran walked ahead, leading her through a short hallway, then into a room that looked like a small home. There was a table with 2 chairs, a soft bed in the corner, and a screen on the wall, showing stars moving slowly across space. "This is my place," he said. "Not much, but it's." Safia stepped inside. Slowly, her feet light, like she was afraid to wake the floor. She looked at the bed, then at Joran, then back at the screen. Her fingers touched the edge of the table. She had never been inside a place that felt quiet like this. "You can rest here," Joran said. "I have food and clean water. Bathroom is there," and he pointed to a small door in the corner. She looked at him with a mixture of fear and confusion. She had nothing, not even a story to tell, but he still opened his world for her. "Why are you doing this?" she asked again, her voice almost breaking. "Because I remember what it's like to be alone," he answered, "and because maybe helping you helps me too." She nodded and sat down slowly, her hands in her lap, her eyes scanning the room again. She noticed something strange behind the screen, a shape, a shadow, a box half hidden under cloth. "What is that?" she asked softly. Joran turned his head, then sighed. "It's my past," he said. "Nothing important." tilted her head. Curious, Joran looked at her and saw the question in her eyes. He sat down across from her and took a breath like he was about to open a door, long kept shut up. Used to be a pilot, he said, for a mission far out near the edge of the Empire. We were not supposed to be seen, not supposed to exist. We were ghosts in the sky, watching things we should not see. He paused, his hands tight together. Ara listened closely, her eyes fixed on his face. One day we found something powerful and dangerous. The rulers wanted it destroyed, but we knew it could save lives if used right, so we disobeyed orders. We tried to protect it. They came for us, he said. One by one they hunted my team. I escaped barely. I've been hiding ever since. Era felt a chill, not from fear, but from the truth in his voice. This man was not just kind. He was running from something big, something heavy. They want you gone, she said. Yes. He nodded, but I'm not ready to give up. Yet she stood up and walked to the screen, pulling the cloth off the box behind it. Inside was a small device, glowing faintly, blue lines moving across it like water. It looked alive. This it? She asked. Yes, Joran said quietly. What does it do? She asked again. I don't fully know, he said, but I think it connects things, not wires, not machines, but people, their thoughts, their feelings, their pain, and maybe their hopes. Her stared at it, her hand hovering near it. She felt a pull, like something inside her wanted to touch it, needed to touch it to her. Not just hiding, she said. You're still trying to do something good, maybe, he said. Or maybe I'm just tired of running without purpose. She looked at him, and for the first time she saw the sadness in his eyes, not just fear or caution, but deep sadness, like he had lost too much and still carried it allure. Not alone now, she said softly. He looked at her, a small smile growing on his face. Maybe not, he whispered. The lights in the room dimmed a little. The screen now showed a quiet planet spinning slowly in space. Era lay down on the bed, her body still weak, but her heart feeling light. Joran sat near the door, watching the hallway, thinking about the past and the strange future ahead. He didn't know what this girl truly was or what she might become, but he knew she was more than just a hungry child. She was different, not just in how she looked, but in how she saw him. Not as a soldier, not as a criminal, but as someone worth saving. To outside the city never slept. Shadows moved and eyes watched from the dark, but inside that small room hope had found a place to breathe it, and though neither of them said it, they both knew their lives had already changed forever. Morning came slow and quiet. The soft hum of machines filled the small room as Era opened her eyes. The light from the screen painted the walls in shades of blue and silver. Joran was already awake, standing near the door, his eyes watching something on a small device in his hand. He looked tired again, more than before, as if the night had not brought rest but worry. Ara sat up, brushing her messy hair from her face. Her body still sore, but stronger than yesterday. The memory of warm food and safety made her chest feel full. We need to move today, Joran said softly. There are supplies I need, and we cannot stay in one place too long. It is not safe. She nodded and stood beside him. Her fingers touched the edge of the table as she walked her steps. Careful, the streets were still in her mind, the cold looks, the silent cruelty, but she trusted Joran now, and that gave her courage. They left through a back exit hidden behind broken pipes and metal crates. The city was louder and the day brighter, but not kinder. They kept to the shadows, walking along side streets, avoiding the main roads. Ara kept her hood low and eyes down, but her mind stayed alert. The market was filled with noise, alien voices shouting, office machines buzzing, colors flashing from screens and signs. Joran moved with purpose, quick but not rushed. Ara stayed close, her eyes catching strange creatures and shapes, but nothing friendly, nothing safe. He stopped near a small shop, his hand pressed to a scanner, and the door opened. They stepped inside, and the sound outside faded, replaced by the scent of metal and oil and old circuits. The shopkeeper was a four-armed alien with yellow skin and silver eyes. He looked at Joran and frowned. You again, he said. Your face still brings trouble. Joran gave a small nod. I only need parts, nothing more. The shopkeeper grumbled and turned away, walking to the back. Joran followed while Ara waited near the entrance, her fingers tracing a crack in the wall, her heart beating steady. Then she felt it, eyes watching her, not from inside but from the street outside. She turned slowly and saw a tall figure across the road, covered in dark armor with a sharp face and glowing red eyes. Not a regular guard, something worse. He tapped his wrist and spoke into a device, then began to cross the street. Tara turned and ran to Joran, her voice low but urgent. Someone saw me, she whispered. He looked up, alarmed, grabbed parts from the counter and tossed a few credits to the shopkeeper, who shouted, but did not stop them. They burst into the street, Joran pulling her by the hand. Running through the crowd, the armored figure followed, not fast but steady. Like a hunter who never lost track, the market became a maze of moving bodies and noise. Joran turned sharply into an alley, pulling Ara behind crates and holding his breaths. She listened, the sound of boots on metal, getting closer, then stopping, then silence. Her breath caught in her throat. Time seemed to freeze. Then a sharp voice echoed through the alley. I know you are here, human, and the girl too. You cannot hide forever. Joran looked at her, his face tight. We need to move now, he whispered. They cannot catch you, not them. Why? She asked as they ran through a door into another hallway. Because they do not want to question you or take you back, he said. They want you gone. They ran downstairs, through tunnels, past doors and wires and blinking lights. At every corner a risk, every corner a risk, every sound a threat. But they kept moving together. At last they reached An old tunnel, long and dark with water dripping from the ceiling. Joran stopped and opened a small panel on the wall. Entering a code, the door opened and they slipped inside. Just before footsteps echoed behind them inside, it was quiet again. A soft light lit the walls and old crates filled the space. Joran locked the door and sat down, breathing hard. Ara sat beside him, her eyes wide. Who was that? She asked. Not just a soldier, right? No. He said, those are shadow trackers, old tools of the Empire. Used to hunt threats with no questions asked. If they are here, it means someone knows about you. But I never did anything, she said. I just survived. That is enough for them, he said, softly. Sometimes survival is the loudest kind of resistance. She looked at him, her voice shaking. What happens now? When we disappear for a while, he said. Find a new place, maybe leave this city, maybe even this planet. Can we? She asked. Yes, he said. I still have one ship left, not pretty, but it flies. She smiled weakly. You always have a way out. Not always, he said, but now I have a reason. They sat there for a moment, not speaking, just breathing together, two pieces of a broken puzzle finding shape again. Above them, the city kept spinning and the shadow moved with silent feet. But in the dark below, a spark was growing, not fear, not fire, but something stronger, hope. The stars outside the window moved slow, as if watching from far away, silent and cold. Ara sat beside a crate, her back against the wall, her knees pulled close to her chest. The hum of the hidden room made her feel safe, but only for a little while. Joran worked near the ship, checking wires and controls, his hands steady, but his eyes full of thought. He had not spoken much since they escaped the shadows, his focus now on the ship, the plan, the path ahead. Era watched him, her heart heavy with questions. She wanted to ask, but did not know how to begin. The silence broke when Joran looked up and spoke. They will come again, and next time, not just one, he said. They will bring more, they will not stop. Why? She asked, her voice soft. I am no one, just a girl. He stood and walked to her, his face calm, but his words sharp. You are not just a girl, he said, and they know it, maybe even before we did. What does that mean? She asked, confused. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small device, a scanner cracked on one side. He turned it on and pointed it at her. A soft light passed over her skin and a strange symbol flashed on the screen. I scanned your DNA, he said, back when you were sleeping, not to hurt you, but to understand you, and I found something I never expected. She stared at the device, then at him, her hands clenched at her sides. What did you find? She asked. A pattern, he said, old and hidden, a marker used only in one place a long time ago, deep inside the genetic labs of the Empire, and not just any lab, but the kind where they made weapons. Weapons, she whispered. Not machines, he said, living ones, people, children, creatures like you, made for special tasks hidden from the world. I am not a weapon, she said, her voice shaking. I feel pain, I dream, I cry, I am realless. You are, he said, and that is why they fear you, because you survived, because you are more than they ever wanted you to be. She looked away, her breath uneven, everything inside her spinning like a storm, her past a blank, her present a lie, her future now a question. Then why did they throw me away? She asked. If I was made for something, why did they leave me in the dirt? Because you were too much, he said, too strong, too aware, too human in a way they could not control. She closed her eyes and tried to remember anything, a name, a voice, a place, but nothing came, only flashes of darkness, metal hands, bright lights, and cold rooms. So what now? She asked. Am I supposed to hide forever? No, he said, not hide, survive, find the others like you. If they exist, protect them. If they do not, be the proof that you were real, that you mattered. She stood slowly, her body shaking but her voice firm. I want to help, not just run. I want to choose who I am, not what they made me. Oren smiled for the first time in hours, a real smile, one filled with pride and hope. Then let us finish this, he said. We get off this planet and start over together. They worked through the night, fixing the old ship's ceiling wires, patching holes, checking fuel. Ara learned fast, her hands quick and steady, her eyes sharp. She asked questions. She understood more than expected, as if her mind was made for learning. By morning, the ship was ready, old and scratched, but strong, a small craft with a fast engine and a cloak system hidden behind rust. Joran showed her how to use the controls, how to read the map, how to listen for danger in silence. But just as they were ready to leave, the alarms blinked, red lights flashing across the room. Joran rushed to the screen and cursed under his breath. They are here, he said already. How did they find us so fast? Era felt a rush of fear, then calm, her body tense but her thoughts clear. Maybe I called them, she said, maybe something inside me, a signal I did not know. Then we leave now, he said, no more waiting. They ran into the ship, the door closing behind them. The engine roared and the floor shook as they lifted into the sky, the city falling away below them, dark towers and bright streets shrinking into dust, but above them a fleet of dark ships waited, forming a wall of metal and fire. Joran looked at Ara, his hands tight on the controls. Are you ready? He asked. She looked at the stars, then at him, then forward, her voice steady and sure. I am not what they made, I am what I choose. Then let us show them, he said, and the ship burst forward into the light, breaking through the shadows, chased but never caught, hunted but never broken. The stars flew past the ship like silver streaks across a dark canvas. The sound inside was low, just the quiet hum of the engine and the soft pulse of navigation lights. Joran sat at the controls, focused, his hands steady, his eyes sharp beside him. Ara watched the stars, her mind full of thoughts spinning like the galaxies outside. She had escaped the city, escaped the hunters, escaped the label. they gave her, but she had not escaped herself. Not yet. Joran broke the silence with a slow voice. That old Earth outpost is our next stop, hidden deep near the edge of forgotten space. Long ago it was a research base, then a graveyard. Now may be our only chance. Why there? She asked, her voice calm but curious. Because it is off their grid, he said. Because they will not look for you where no one wants to go, and because someone there might still remember what they created. She looked at the screen as coordinates shifted and planets passed by one. A cold feeling wrapped around her like distant wind. What if they find us again? She asked. What if I put you in danger again? He turned and met her eyes. Danger is already here. He'd said it was always here, but now we face it together, and that makes us stronger. She nodded and turned back to the stars, her heart beating slower, more steady. She still did not understand what she truly was, but she knew what she was not. She was not broken, not forgotten, not alone. The ship entered silent space, a region of darkness where even light seemed afraid to enter. Everything outside the windows was still. No planets, no ships, no movement, just black and deep cold silence here. Joran said, this is where signals do not reach, where tracking fails, and eyes cannot see. Asira stared into the void, a chill running down her spine. She had never felt something so big and so empty all at once, and yet inside this black sea was a hidden key, a place no one talked about and no one visited. As they reached the coordinates, the ship's scanners picked up a structure, old and gray, floating near an asteroid field. Pieces of metal drifted nearby, broken satellites and long dead drones. It looked like a skeleton of a forgotten dream. That is it, Joran said. Earth Base 9. They approached, slow and careful, the ship docking. With a low hiss, lights flickered as power systems linked. The airlock opened and a hallway appeared, long and dark, covered in dust and silence. They stepped out together, Ara behind Joran, her eyes wide, every step echoing in the dead station. Her fingers touched the cold walls and dust moved like memory in the air. They passed doors that no longer opened, walked past windows covered in cracks and data screens frozen in time. Some showed faded messages, some just static. Finally, they reached the central chamber where a large terminal waited. Joran wiped the dust and activated it. Old lights blinked and a voice spoke, slow and broken. Welcome to Earth Base 9. Please enter. Joran typed fast, searching files, scanning archives, looking for anything that matched Ara's DNA code. After minutes of silence, something clicked. A file opened and a name appeared. Project Serafera leaned closer. Her breath caught. Her name was inside the file, lines of data running fast, history notes and reports, flashes of experiments, dates and numbers, and then images. Children like her standing in rows, cold eyes, glowing marks on their skin like hers. She looked away, her heart pounding. I do not want to be one of them, she whispered. I do not want to be a thing. Are not, Joran said. You are not what they made. You are what you choose. A sound came from the hallway, metal scraping echoing closer. They both turned as the door shook, then opened. A tall figure stepped in, its body wrapped in armor, its voice sharp and cold. Subject Seraph located, directive engaged, and retriever. A stepped back, fear rising in her chest, but this time something inside her lit up like fire. Not panic, not terror, but something stronger, a force she had never used before. The walls hummed, the lights flickered, the air grew thick, as if the station itself could feel her power. She raised her hand without thinking, and the floor beneath the soldier cracked. Energy burst from her palm, not bright but heavy, like invisible thunder. The soldier flew back, crashing into the wall, sparks flying, its armor burning. Joran watched in silence, not with fear but awe. You are more than they knew, he said. More than I guessed. Dara fell to her knees, breathing hard, her hands shaking but her eyes clear. She looked at the broken metal and then at Joran. I do not want to destroy, I only want to live. Then that is what we will do, he said. Starting today, this is not their mission, it is ours. She stood with his help, her body weak but her spirit sharp, and for the first time the word mission did not sound like an order, it sounded like a promise. The ship moved through empty space, broken pieces of the old station still clinging to its hull, sparks flickering behind them like fireflies lost in the void. Ara sat near the window, her hands wrapped around her knees, her eyes searching the stars as if looking for something more than light. Joran worked quietly beside her, fixing a panel, checking signals, watching for shadows that moved without sound, his mind heavy but his hands steady. They had escaped again, but each escape came with a cost, and time was beginning to run out. The energy inside Ara still hummed, quiet but strong, like a storm held behind glass. Her thoughts kept returning to that moment when she pushed the soldier with her mind, with her will, with something deeper than training, something not made but born. What am I really? She asked finally, her voice soft and slow. Joran looked at her, his face tired but kind. You are the one who chooses what that means, he said. You are not their plan, you are not their tool, you are not their pool, you are not their weapon. But I feel it, she said. I feel it inside, and I do not know how to control it. Then we learn together, he said. We find the balance, not just in power but in purpose. Their words faded into silence, the stars passing slowly across the black sky ahead of them. Something bright appeared, glowing red and fierce, a dying star, its light pulsing like a heartbeat, its heat so strong even space seemed to tremble. We are close, Joran said. The star is unstable. We need to pass through its orbit to reach the hidden gate, a shortcut out of the sector before the Empire locks it Doniera stood and walked to the controls, her hand touching the edge of the console. Are we ready? She asked, her voice stronger now almost. He said, this ship is old but stubborn like me, and like you. She smiled just a little, the moment, brief but real, then everything shook. Alarms flashing red, the ship pulling to one side. Joran grabbed the controls and growled under his breath. What is it? She asked. The heat from the star, he said. Or maybe something worse. Outside the window, shadows appeared, dark shapes floating through space. Not ships, not creatures, something in between, living machines. With long wings and blinking eyes, they moved fast, surrounding the ship without sound. Dara stared at them, her breath caught in her chest. I know them, she said. I saw them once in a memory. They are the ones who guarded the deep labs, Joran said. Protectors of secrets sent now to erase what they once guarded. The ship tilted hard, trying to avoid the dark wings. Beams of light flashed across the stars. The enemy silent but fierce, their weapons more like thought than fire, piercing through metal like whispering. Knives, hold on, Joran shouted, guiding the ship through broken paths around fire, rocks and burning light. Ara held the side, her eyes glowing faint, her energy rising with the heat. I can stop them, she said, but I need to feel it. I need to open the door. He looked at her, afraid not for himself but for her. Are you sure? He asked. She nodded. I cannot keep running from what I am not. If we want to live, not if I want to be free. She stepped into the center of the ship, the walls humming, the lights flickering. Her eyes closed and her hands rose slowly, as if lifting the whole Skadar. Machines outside paused, as if hearing something distant, their wings folding, their lights dimming one by one. They turned not toward the ship but toward the star itself, drifting like lost children into the fire. Joran watched in shock as the scanners cleared. No more threats, no more heat, just silence. Again Ara fell to her knees, breathing hard, sweat on her face, but her eyes calm. She looked up at him and smiled. I did not destroy them, she said. I sent them home. He ran to her, lifted her gently and sat with her, his hands on hers, his heart beating fast. You did not lose control, he said. You chose the better way, and that is what makes you stronger. The ship moved forward now, past the star, into a quiet part of space where the gate waited, glowing with blue rings, opening slowly as the ship approached. As they passed through, Era looked back at the star, now smaller, now fading, and she whispered something, not in fear but in respect. You for testing me, she said. Thank you for not breaking me. The gate closed behind them and the ship disappeared into light, carrying two souls, no longer lost, no longer hunted, flying toward something new, not just survival, not just escape, but purpose. The light faded around the ship as it exited the gate. Soft blue turned to quiet gray and space stretched open like a peaceful sky. Joran leaned back in his seat, his hands loosed, his shoulders no longer stiff, his breath slow as he looked over at Ara, who now sat calmly, her face quiet, her eyes full of questions and peace both at once. They had passed through fire, through shadow, through silence and sorrow, and they were still here, breathing together, still standing, not because of luck but because of choice. Ahead of them floated a green world, small but alive. The scanners showed clean air, water, soft weather, trees and oceans, untouched by cities, untouched by wars. Is it, Joran said, a forgotten planet? No name, no roads, no empire. Eyes, just space to live and maybe space to heal. Her said nothing but nodded, her hand resting on the edge of the seat, her thoughts deep, her heart heavy but not broken, not anymore. The ship landed on soft ground, tall grass waving in the wind, small lights dancing in the air as if the planet itself was welcoming them. They stepped out into the breeze and for a long moment said nothing, just listened to the sound of life. Dren placed his pack on the ground and looked around. This place will work, he said. Not forever maybe, but for now it gives us time to rest and time to grow. Ro walked ahead, her feet sinking into the grass, her hands brushing the wind, her eyes full of wonder. She stopped near a tree and sat beneath it, her mind spinning not with fear but with memory. I dreamed of places like this, she said, once when I was little, before the dark rooms, before the machines, before the cold hands. I saw trees and light and quiet then. This place is your dream, Joran said, made real. She looked at him, her voice low. Why did you stay with me? Why did you choose to help me when no one else even looked? Because you reminded me that kindness is not weakness, he said. Because you gave me something. I had lost something I thought was gone. What did I give you? She asked. You gave me reason, he said. You gave me someone to protect, not because of war, not because of duty, but because I cared. Era looked down, her fingers gripping the grass. I never thought anyone would say that to me, not after what I learned, not after what I did. Joran moved closer and sat beside her. He placed a small stone in her hand, smooth and warm. This is yours, he said, not because of what you are, but because of who you are. But because of who you are. She closed her hand around the stone and something inside her softened. She felt safe, not because there were no dangers, but because she was no longer facing them. Days passed as they built a small shelter, gathered fruit, filtered water. Joran fixed parts of the ship while Ara explored the land, finding caves and rivers, learning the way the world breathed. They shared stories at night beneath stars, talked about old Earth, about the stars they had seen, the enemies they had outrun, and the strength they had discovered within themselves. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Ara sat beside a fire, her voice quiet. I do not feel like a weapon anymore, she said. I feel like someone really always were, he said. They just never saw it. She turned to him, her eyes shining. You saw it. You gave me food when I was begging for crumbs. You gave me warmth when I was frozen inside. You gave me choice when I had none. He looked at her and smiled, not with pride but with love, not with hope but with certainty. And you gave me everything I thought I would never have again, he said. You gave me a reason to believe in people again. They sat close to fire, warmed the night, calmed their hands, brushed gently, not with fear, not with doubt, but with quiet trust. I looked up at the stars and whispered, I asked for a crumb, and you gave me love. Joran leaned back, his heart full. The fire flickered and the wind sang through the trees like a lullaby for the broken and brave. In that moment there were no chasers, no shadows, no war, only two souls who found each other in the darkness and built something real from ashes and stardust. Then, though the stars would keep spinning and the empire might rise again and the galaxy might tremble once more, this little place, this simple love, this chosen bond would remain untouched. A quiet rebellion stronger than any blade, because in the end she was not created for war or for fear. She was created to feel, to learn, to command. Now at last she was free.